Hi, this is Joe Davis, host of Gains On, and I am here at the Gains 2025 Summit with one of our amazing customers, Haroun Habeeb from Koozie Group. And you are a senior supply chain analyst, you said, but you've had every job under the sun in supply chain.
And I've done every role in supply chain.
Awesome. So I imagine this is something you've been at for a while.
Yes, 4 decades.
4 decades, really?
Almost close enough.
That's amazing because you don't look like you could have been in this for 4 decades.
And I was in the military as well.
Well, there you go. That's quite wow.
That's
So is that sort of what got you interested in supply chain? You start with your time.
no. What got me interested in supply chain was an accident. Was because my position that I started at was an artist, and it was pretty boring. I didn't think it would be, but it was boring. And then the company decided to implement an ERP system.
Okay.
Using systems and computers, and a lot of people were afraid of that. And
Yeah.
I just volunteered for it, and here we are.
And here we are. So you've been with supply chain for 4 decades. So that's quite a bit of time. I'm sure did you start out in spreadsheets?
No, because there weren't laptops or computers either,
Okay.
right? So it was the green bar charts that you got.
Oh yeah,
So that was the first report I ever seen in my life, and it was explaining to me how it works. And
Yeah.
so it was a struggle, but without the computing power and supply. Matter of fact, it wasn't called supply chain; it was just purchasing, or all the different components were all individual, and they didn't work together. So
Right.
ultimately, here we are in the future where they really all complement each other.
Yeah, and I imagine you were there for that whole evolution to kind of
Absolutely, as well as technology.
Well, speaking of technology, what kind of things are you able to do now that you weren't able to do before?
Well, obviously before, again, not having the collaboration, not having the connections with other things in today's environment now, we're more closer connected. The data, the reports, the KPIs are more relatable to the other things. And it's known that this reacts from one thing to another.
Right. And you talk about the being able to that unified language and being able to get everybody to speak the same language. And with those KPIs, are you able to sort of convince folks that we should work together because it's in your best interest too?
Well, yes. And more importantly, there's an accountability factor. Whereas before, certain other units were excluded from being accountable for the things the supply chain is doing. So a lot of times supply chain was just kind of a sidebar thing, not understanding really how it impacted the business or how it benefited the business, or say sales and marketing that say, hey, we want everything, buy lots of the stuff. But a finance team is like, hey, why did you spend so much money? You got all these things going on. But with the advent of technology now, that goes away, and everybody looks at the same data points, and everybody has some role in that exercises.
Well, that's great. I mean, to be able to be accessible, that everybody can get to it, as opposed to somebody being the keeper of truth.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And so now we know, based on our software tools and what we have, it is the source of truth, and everybody has some accountability in that.
So when we spoke previously, you talked about how continuous improvement, which is something that we love talking about, is not just a motto, it's a muscle.
Absolutely.
Can you expand on that a little bit? Tell me a little about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, now it's to the point where continuous improvement is part of all processes, including the data. So, like, while you may have the ability to improve a process, to take out waste and loss and things like that, we're also now looking at the data itself. There's a continuous improvement there because you have garbage in, garbage out analogy with data. So now we're exercised to say, hey, you know what? Let's continuously improve our data based on things that we discover over time. So last time something's discovered, either in a process, the data, or whatever it is, we're saying, hey, how can we improve on that? And let's put something in place, a process to eliminate those issues related to the data, the process, or the exercise itself.
What does that look like week to week? Is it?
Well, for us, it's improved dramatically in terms of the decision-making process. Previously, it was a bit ambiguous in terms of how I made a decision, whether it was supply or demand. But now, with the tools we have, the data, the continuous improvement, it's pretty clear cut now what decisions you should make. And if, again, process wise, if it's a decision you should not make, then it rolls up to the next approval level to decide, hey, what should we do in this particular case?
Have you found that that's sort of the bringing Gains on has sped up that decision making?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was kind of hard at first. It's like, hey, you can lead them to the water, but you can't let them drink.
Absolutely.
And not understanding. But I would ask the question back when something would happen and say, well, what tool are you using? What data are you using?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm using the spreadsheet, or we felt this or felt that. I'm like, no, hey, I lead them back to the water and say, hey, this is the tool. This is what we're planning to.
Yeah.
So we're planning to this data point of what we're using to decide whether on the supply or whatever demand planning. And so the realization has come about it. Oh, okay, we play a role that yes,
Right.
you have to participate in that. Or unfortunately, if some event occurred, then it rolls either downhill or uphill and say, hey, this is all what you decided. Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize the impact. So yeah, it's become more relevant now based on that.
It seems like you take an educational approach.
Oh, absolutely.
Talking to people and showing them the impact of what decisions.
Well, yeah, it would like when I could tell you that it feels like, or I still, but when you show them the actual data and you bring it up, say, hey, you have access to this. And do you see here, this is the performance of these products or not, or whatever it
Yeah.
might be. The light bulb still goes off. Oh, wow. And I can't tell you how many people tell me, oh, wow, I just really didn't realize what this tool could afford us in terms of knowledge and information about our products and where we're going.
Well, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Absolutely. But the facts are the facts, right? You can say how you feel, but
Right.
it's black and white.
Yes.
Yes.
A lot of the customers that we work with have grown through acquisition, mergers or acquisition, and Koozie is no exception to that.
That is correct.
Tell me, how do you manage growing through acquisition and keeping all the things together?
Well, the first thing we learned is that you can't have everybody doing things differently.
Right.
So the first thing we do is through an acquisition is that they have to get onto our legacy system.
Right.
So we go through an implementation process, we understand their data and their history, and we get all that information and we apply it to our legacy system. At the same time, using Gains, we take that same information that they have in the previous legacy systems and apply it to Gains. If, we've had an acquisition where they didn't have very much information, so we had to do our best to do some estimates and things like that,
Right.
get it into Gains. But that is our process, onto our legacy system and then onto Gains, and then all processes will be standardized, whether that's procurement, planning or otherwise.
Right. It goes back to that strong communication and this collaboration. Awesome. I want to talk for a minute about seasonality. This is something that we've talked about. We talked about it with Aaron from the Home Depot. We were talking to him earlier with all kinds of crazy seasonality coming to factors there. And I imagine that with Koozie Group, you guys sell a lot of promotional materials, but also a lot of very seasonal materials, right?
Yeah, yes, we do. We have quite a few, and because we're a promotional product, it runs the gamut. You have things there's a wildly swing one way versus the other, and then we have things that are rock steady and very predictable.
Right.
In the instances where we have these outlier, these situations where things are very seasonal, we pretty much know what those are.
Yeah.
We have a process for dealing with those. So, for example, beanies, which is a more of a winter type thing for late fall, early into the first quarter of the year, and the volumes are extremely high. We know what this is, so we have a dedicated process to manage these uh, vastly seasonal type things. So we look at the items even in the off season. Where are we? How are we doing? We look at the supply, and then to complicate even further, the lead time is very long, anywhere from 9 to 10 months lead time. So we really have to plan way in advance. And so between our collaboration with product management, supply, demand planning team, as well as the supplier.
Right.
So we're all connected together in terms of what we're going to do, how we're going to execute this plan. So leading up to those peak seasons, we know where we stand in terms of our inventory, our sales, the ramp up and the letdown later on. So pretty much, I'm going to say we nailed it, but it's pretty good in terms of that ramp up and the letdown to not have excess or a shortfall for that matter in leading into the sales.
Right. When you find yourself with one of those black swan incidents, right? Taylor Swift has suddenly decided that everybody at the concert needs a koozie.
Yeah.
You get an order for million and a half. What do you do?
So if just looking at our product portfolio, we already know items that we could support something like that.
Okay.
And so we kind of know what those product groups are or products themselves. And so depending on what the request is, we pretty much know there's no way we can support that, or we can support that, or somewhere in between where we'll make an attempt. So for example, we know that if it's a make item, we have control over that. It's not the other suppliers, 100% us.
Gotcha.
And so typically we can support those large type orders because we get them frequently throughout a year.
You are at the factory.
Yes. And if it's a sourced item, well, then again, if it's something that's plausible, then we'll reach out to supplier. They're used to this, and we'll make that request to them, see can they support that, and if they can, then we do so and advise our customer, yes, maybe we can take that on. But we've had several.
Do you share forecast information with your supplier?
Yes, very good point. But we do that on a number of items. We share the forecast with the supplier, and as the forecast evolves monthly or quarterly, we pass that on so they at least have a indication of what they can expect in terms of us sending orders to them. Now they're going to make it in advance. They make it; it's on them. But we let them know, hey, look, this is our projections, and we give them purchase orders well in advance. So we learn that helping them plan their capacity constraints helps us and helps them both.
Right. Well, and that's what I was saying. What so often gets lost in supply chain is the importance of being a good customer to your vendor.
That's absolutely right.
Because these are the folks who are going to bail you out when you need to be bailed out.
Not every customer is a good customer.
That's true. It's right. And the customers who are good for it share forecasts and share information, like give you plenty of time for pre-orders and, don't make you express ships things. You can build a relationship with us so that you'll get preferable treatment. And I
It's
think
true.
that people, I think I don't know why people don't make that connection because
Well, I mean, as long as you have some consistency, you have the volume, they wouldn't be for everything. But, we've been in this business for a long time. We've got suppliers that's been with us for decades as well.
Well,
They know us. And again, we have that collaboration with them as well. And
yeah.
it works out pretty good.
Earlier, we were talking about tariffs, everybody's favorite subject, right? I'm
Yes.
sure by the time that this interview airs, there will be several more. And yes, there probably has been since we started talking. But what I want to know is like you're saying, you've got a lot of different suppliers, you've got a lot of different products that you bring in. How do you, when you're working with a client who comes to you and say, I want X product that you sell
Hmm.
in X volume,
Correct.
are you able to steer them toward something that is a non-tariff product?
So our policy is if we have the order and we have the intro, we're taking it.
Got it.
Okay. And so as it relates to the tariff situation, obviously it's based on the country
Yep.
of origin. So what we did was we applied the country of origin
Mm.
and the port origin to all of our skulls and gains.
Okay.
And so in the event that like now we have this massive increase for China, we have the ability to know what's at stake for us as well as our customer base. So we would not want to purchase items that the tariff supersedes our profit margins.
Right.
And so we stop all those shipments.
Gotcha.
We don't bring them in until we understand what's happening. There may be some timeline it may start at the 1st of December, and then we get the lead time. We have time to ship it and get it cleared customs before that happens.
Yeah.
And then we're able to look across the board and say, well, wait a minute, we can ship this from, say, Cambodia, for example,
Right.
and we'll move the product to Cambodia. Now, obviously, it depends on the status of if it's already produced in China. We just have to wait out the whole tariff situation until it happens. We've done this a couple of times already this entire year.
Yeah.
And pretty much the whole industry is doing the same thing. Start shipments, move it here, move it there.
Gotcha.
The tariffs are released, and we have this mass shipment. This just happened earlier this year, where a lot of Chinese shipments were on hold just because of the tariffs.
Right.
Once the tariff schedule changed, then everybody just started shipping. But you had a logistics problem because everybody's trying to ship all those things at once.
Well, it's funny, and we've talked a couple of times about how COVID really underlined what supply chain is, and you don't have to explain to anybody what supply chain is now.
Oh, yes, yes.
So it's always surprising to see how we talk about supply chain, but it was really a supply web, right? Or a supply network where everything's just overlapping like spaghetti. And so something like tariffs or having a hold of shipment or logistic problems, I mean, it's so sensitive. So do you find, like, I know you use Oracle and Gains, does that allow you the flexibility you need to be able to make those changes at speed?
As best we could. Right. I mean, it's almost like an aircraft carrier. You turn it around, it's kind of difficult, but you can.
Right.
And so we've kind of put all the data points in place to allow us or to afford us the opportunity to make the best decision we could relating to the impact of those tariffs.
When you're using Gains, which workflows or alerts do you use to make sure that you're sending things the right place at the right time?
So we've created a number of workflows in Gains to indicate the things that are most critical. So obviously, if I have demand and no supplier purchase for it, well, that's first one that pops up.
Right.
The supply planner. And there's several others. It could be things like created some trend indicators that if the sales are increasing faster than the predicted forecast, it's going to, the notifications there, click on that, it takes you to those items and you can see, oh, wow, I can see the last 2 months are exceeding sales and the forecast in the next quarter or 3 months is is not going to meet that. And then we do an assessment of why did this happen? Was it some large orders or what the case may be?
Right.
Make some adjustments if necessary, predicated on that.
Plays in that whole continuous improvement.
Absolutely.
Right. Just learning from every lesson. That's fantastic. So you're able to, at Koozie, you're able to use an approach where you keep everybody pulling in the same direction. How do you manage that?
So we've instituted several processes as far as to continue. We've learned things.
Yeah.
And so if you do not inform or communicate often, then you kind of lose their interest.
Right.
And so what we've instituted is a mini weekly S&OP process.
Okay.
And so we don't take everything, but we take the items that are most impactful, that are at risk to the business, and we put that together in an assessment tool. We send that out to all the stakeholders, and we meet for an hour weekly to go over these items. So there's clear cut. No one is going to be surprised about the situation. We have actions. We have the situation listed, the actions, the status of the items. Are they production ready? Are they on the way? Whatever the situation is, so everybody is clearly informed.
Yeah.
And it's a back and forth collaboration that includes sales, operations, supply chain individuals. There's a few finance folks that participate as well.
That's great. I worked in the hotel industry for a little while, and we had a meeting like that they developed, and it was called a NETMA meeting. And I had any idea what NETMA meant. I finally asked myself, what is a NETMA meeting? Oh, nobody ever tells me anything. We had put this meeting in once a week so that nobody can say, oh, nobody ever told me that. And so it's a similar idea to build that community. If you can offer advice to somebody who's in your position, starting out, or maybe somebody moving from planning and supply chain planning and spreadsheets to moving to a digital environment. Do you have any advice for somebody taking that journey?
And number one is implement the new tool right away.
Okay.
Don't waste any more time because you're losing ground with that. Number two is the tool you implement, do not try to customize that new tool to be the old tool, because you're going to have a problem, and evolve out of the box and evolve to the new tool. And then after you do that, then you'll have the ability to make customizations or recommend customizations to that tool to enhance the new process.
That's great advice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, Haroun. Thank you so much. Haroun Habeeb.